what you're looking at right here is everything, and in fact more than everything you need, or I need, to replace the sunroof track, or pull out one out and put in a sunroof track on a 2015 and up F-150 or Expedition or 250, 350, whatever. This is everything I use. I believe this is every tool. A little bright here, but I'm going to show you. I'll go into the truck and show you what I use them all for. Now, you don't need all these power tools. You only need one. Actually, you can do it by hand if you want to, but that would be excruciating to me. I have all four, and therefore I use all four. Actually, I probably won't even use that one without the battery. I don't need but one of them, but I could. But anyway, I highly recommend, if you're going to buy anything, get the 90 degree. That's useful for all kinds of things, but that one in the impact's really all I need. I'm going to use that one only as a drill for like one thing, and I could easily use the 90 degree. I'm going to use that one to pull out the bolts for the sunroof track itself, where it bolts to the roof, and I could still easily use the 90 degree. It's just easier to switch back and forth. Anyway, here's what you have. Here's your list. 7mm, these are all 1/4 inch drive. 7mm, 10mm, 13mm. It's got a impact swivel on it. That I find necessary for the way I do it. 2 of these rivets. You're going to have to source your own rivets. You're going to have to see what size they are. I don't know what size they are. They have these in the parts bin at the Ford place, and they work with a slight modification because Ford doesn't give you the part number of the rivets you need, and you do need 2. I've got a pair of 45 degree long needle nose. You could use a regular pair of needle nose. You could even maybe use a big thick screwdriver, flathead. I've got a 45 degree, and you see that 45 degree pick. You'll see what I use that for. Rivet gun, silicone paste, that's going to be for the seal. And then of course your I've got an extension on my thing there, and it magnetizes these 2 Torx bits. You got a Torx 20 and a Torx 25, and you have a 3/16 drill bit. That's every tool I need to pull out the sunroof track on an F-150. Now that's just to pull it out. Now additionally, once you get it out and you're swapping things over, like the motors and particularly the shade, you're going to need either a paper clip or one of these things to lock the shade so it doesn't unravel because it's spring loaded. Now this is one that comes out of a new shade, and I just saved it to use for this, but you could easily just use a paper clip. And you're going to need a good size flathead screwdriver, and that's all I need for that. And that's really all I need for the whole swap over and everything. So there's everything we need. I'll show you inside the truck next. So here we are in the truck. Now I'm going to point out what you need. I can't show you everything because I don't have the headliner down yet. What you need which tool for. Okay, so the 7mm, going to take off this visor mount point. You're going to have this visor mount point. You just get your finger behind it, pop it down. There's your 7mm. Okay, that 7mm. The only other thing I can think of right off the top of my head you'll need 7mm for is on this coat hook. You'll use the 45 degree pick to take that little door loose, and there's a Torx number 20 up in there. It's only Torx 20 in the whole, that one and the other side are the only 2 Torx 20s in the truck. This screws into a plastic mounting boss that bolts to the roof. Well, it bolts to the roof with another 7mm. So you'll need the 7mm for the visors and for those mounting bosses. That's it. You'll need the Torx 20 for these 2 coat hooks. That's it. You'll need the Torx 25 for the 3 screws on each side of each glass. So there's, you can see them up there. There's Torx 25, 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's 3 on each side of that glass. And behind this concertina shield, there's 3 on behind here. And there's both sides, so there's 12. So that's what you need T25 for. And then you'll also need it for the screws that hold the motor to the track, because you're gonna have to take the 2 motors. There's 3 screws in each of them, 6 of them. You're gonna have to take them off and put them back on the new track, unless you're replacing the motors, and you'll still need the screws out of them because the new motors do not come with screws. So either way, you'll need it for that. So that's what you need the Torx 25 for, and that's it. What you'll need the 10mm for is, now this is where you can't see, but here's the sunroof track itself. Up and down the cab and all across the back, there's 10 millimeters up in the headliner, and I'll show them to you later, that hold this track in. In addition, right up here, let me see if you can probably pull this down. You can see that big aluminum bracket. Okay, it's got 3 10 millimeters across the front, but on the side over here, it's got 3 13s. All right, there's a 10 millimeter that holds the airbag in, the side airbag in right about here. I take that loose, pull that airbag down. 113 you can get right to without moving the airbag. The other two, you got to pull the airbag down, use that universal joint impact swivel socket to turn the corner a little bit and get those other 2 13s, and then you can take that bracket off. It's the only thing you need the 13 for. 3 on this side, 3 on the other side. What would you need those 45-degree pliers for? Well, the main thing is there's a satellite antenna wire that has a little clip to hold it steady that plugs into that aluminum bracket back there. I use those pliers to pop that loose because that's got to come off, and then you unplug the wire. But that bracket comes out of the truck, and so since that wire is plugged to it, it's got to come off. Let's see. And then I also use it, this bracket kind of snaps onto the front of the sunroof. I use it to pop it loose. You could use a screwdriver for that. And at that point, you've got the glass out of the truck. So I'm gonna get in here and point out a few things. And since I'm filming this by myself, I can't really film myself doing too much of this. So I'm gonna try to point it out, tell you what I'm gonna do, and then I'm gonna do it and show you the aftermath. Okay, a little something I guess I can do on camera. 7 millimeter. There, it's off, right? And you put it somewhere safe. Don't lose that screw. 7 millimeter. That's not the best angle in the world, but okay. All right, the way this comes out, it's got kind of a little hook. So you just see how it came out? I hope that got on camera, but it just hooks there and then just flips back up. So you're gonna have a wire hook to it, and you just push down on that little part right there. It comes undone. All right, not a big deal. That's pretty self-explanatory. The other thing you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to take this off. This they don't always have this exact setup. Sometimes they just have like a little rod running down there, but you got to get your hand in there on this thing, and they're a little tight sometimes, but they usually pop on down. And just work your finger in there, and there you go. See, you got to push on these things, and all right, then it comes off. Set it back out of the way. Now, the other thing you got to address, this has 2 wires. I don't like to leave them plugged in because we're going to be dropping the headliner, and you don't want those wires dangling and ripping some kind of expensive electrical thing out by the roots. So it's easy enough. They don't all have, just unplug it. They've just got little I can't get a hold of that one. Anyway, you just push in the little tab and unplug it. All right, some of them I've seen 3, and I've only seen 1 sometimes. So it depends on the options and the year model. Just unplug them, let them sit there, and then you can plug them back up later. All right, so that's that visor. Do the same thing over there. Next thing I'm gonna show you is the coat hook. I'm just gonna try to do like half of this thing since I'm trying to film this by myself. I've had so many people, not begging, but strongly asking for a video on how to pull these things apart and put them back in, and I have tried. I promise you, I've tried a couple of times, several times, to make one, and it is just not easy. Every time we do one, I've had my kids try to film me, and it just you know, go back and watch it, and it's just not all usable. But hopefully I can get some usable out of this one and the last one I did, and maybe at least get how to pull it out here. So I'll be right back in the back of the truck. Here we are looking at the coat hook. All right, there, if you see up and in there, there's a little door right there, right? Well, what is this door missing that this should have? What it's missing is, and is up at the top, there should be a little notch. So you can put something like this in there and pop that door open. There's nothing. It completely shuts flush, and there's absolutely no tool that you're going to get in between that's going to have the strength anyway to pull it open, that's not going to deform that plastic a little bit. The older body style had a notch in the top of it, so you could just stick this up in here just like this and just go bloop. All right, well, that's still what I'm gonna do. But you just have to go ahead and accept the fact that you're gonna have to deform this plastic a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this in here. And by all means, if you have a better way to do this or a better tool that I don't know about, tell me. I'm gonna get it right here in the corner. Am I getting that? I think I am. All right in that corner. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna force that thing in there. And I'm just basically sticking it into the plastic, right? And then, you saw how much pressure I was putting it on there. I didn't quite get it. Sometimes that goes like that. And I'm gonna put it right back in the same little hole I just made and pop it open. Look at that, there it is, now it's popped open. Now look, that's what I did to the plastic right there. When I get it off, I can take this and kind of smooth that out, and you'll never see it, because honestly, look where it is. You'll never see it anyway. Nobody will ever see it, not unless you know it's there and you stick your magnifying glass up in there and going, hey, he bent my plastic. Well, it's either that or you buy a new one of these so it's not bent. Which would you rather have? I hate to see how much they want for those little things. All right, anyway, so there's your Torx 20. Easy enough. You just take your Torx number 20 on whatever driver you want to use it on, and then there's the Torx 20, and there's that. So there's the plastic mounting boss behind it, and I think it's over to here. It might be over to here. That's where the 7mm is. You can't get to that until you've got the headliner down. So anyway, there's that. So now I'm going to take the other side of all this same stuff I've just shown you off on the left side off camera, and then I'm going to show you how to pull the headliner down. And I want to do one little disclaimer here too. I'm not to brag or anything. I'm not trying to do that. I'm a professional. I do these. I have done literally hundreds of these tracks. I've pulled, I mean, and I'm not even exaggerating. I'm talking about 300-400 at least, I'm sure. If I really went back through my invoicing program and looked at them, I'll guarantee I've done 300 or 400 of these. I have figured out how to take a few shortcuts by bending and flexing the headliner. Some people might not be comfortable with doing it my way. Particularly speaking, I'm going to be bending and flexing this. I'm going to bend this way down, pull it out from over top of that. I'm not going to take this molding off. Now, if it's your truck and you're more particular about it, and you're not confident in your, because you'll never know I was there. Nobody's ever known I was there except for the fact their sunroof works now. So you don't know, it doesn't hurt anything, but I'm just telling you how I do it, and that you don't have to do it this way. If it's the only one you're ever going to do, then you grab your hand in here, pull this loose. There's a couple of clips up here. You pull this loose. You can let this head thing down right here, and let this has got a elastic thing on here, and this will just hang here and get out of your way, and then you don't have to bend the headliner to get it over here, and that's perfectly fine too. It doesn't take that much more time, and it's not a big deal. So you can do that on both sides. I will say that those clips are a little bit of a pain to line up when you go to pop that thing back on there sometimes, not every time, but that is an option. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this headliner right here a little bit, and I'm going to have this flex and pop out. This is just sitting up over here. There's an end to it, if you can see it right there. It's just sitting there. It's not attached to anything. I'm just going to kind of have it flex and pop it out. Once it pops out on this side, and I pop it out up there at the headliner, then the other side I don't have to flex. I can just move the whole headliner this way, and that side will pop out, and the whole headliner will be sitting here on top of the headrests. And then I'll have this much room to work between the headrest and between the headliner and the track, and I'll be able to get my impact up in there and take all those bolts off with no problem. The other thing I'm doing is, the book says you're supposed to take all the interior out. Seats, console, seats, and drop this headliner all the way down, drop the track all the way down, and take it out the side door. I'm not doing that. I'm taking it out the top. So when I drop this headliner down, I usually lean this seat back a little bit, And when the headliner, when the track is dropped loose, I'm pointing towards the front of the truck, obviously. I guess you can see that. I am going to scoot the track that way a little bit. It'll be on top of the headliner, remember, because the headliner will be down. I'll scooch it that way a little bit. And this back corner right here, I'll be standing back here. As soon as I see the back corner where it will clear the roof, I'll start pulling it up there. And then as I pull it up, I'll gradually turn it. All right, now, other disclosure is I'm about 6'4". I'm standing up here on the side of the truck. I'm pretty well up there. If you're like 5'7", you're really probably gonna need some help anyway. I had to have help for a long time until I figured out how to do it myself when I didn't have help. So I recommend definitely get help to lift it in and out because it'll definitely make your life easier. But I will gradually point the track to the left slightly without hitting the steering wheel and without hitting that molding, because if you do, it'll scar them up. Tape them up if you have any question about that. And then I'll just lift the track out, put it up over my head, and step down off the truck with it. That's where being tall comes in handy, and that's where having help will also come in handy. You can have somebody standing up in the bed and maybe up in this other front doorway to help you. And once you take it out, you save so much time that way. So anyway, I'm gonna now do the other side, and I'll have it ready to show you how I get the headliner down. Another little thing before I drop the headliner, I usually like to take the front glass out and loosen the rear glass. In other words, taking the screws out of it. All right, I've taken the screws out. You can see that. See, they're gone. That won't come out while it's in the truck, while the track is installed. The ears on that, the mounting ears are wider than the opening. So the only way you can get that glass out is to drop the track. And then you can kind of tilt it and bring it out like that. It's the only way it'll come out. But the front one will. To get to the front ones, you got to remove these concertina shields or blinds. And the way to do that is like this. This has a metal backbone. It is sometimes tight and sometimes not. On the times that it is tight, if you just grab this right here, it will tear right there. And they're about 35, 40 bucks a piece. You don't want to just waste that money. So what I do is I get my finger right up in there behind it. See that? All right, I'm pushing on the edge and I feel it coming loose. All right, now I'm kind of pulling it. Now look at that. It fell right off. I'm lucky. If it didn't want to do that, I would get a pick and put right in there behind there and pull it loose. But you don't want to just pull it from here because you don't want to just pull it from here because it can bend. It'll bend this, and once it's bent, it's really, really hard to get straight again. But that one's, it's got a little bit, they always have a little bit of an arc to them. I try to straighten that up before I put it back on, but that one's not too bad. Now the bottom one just snaps in place, and you just put your hand down here at the bottom, and it's off. Concertina shield, blind, whatever. The little accordion thingies. And I do have a video on how to put them back on. All right, and then, I don't know that I really need to film this, but you pretty much remove those screws, right? All right, 1, 2, 3. And then the same thing on the other side. All right, back in a minute with the next part. Okay, everything is loose. This headliner is loose and ready to come down. Here comes the moment of flexing. This is where you may want to part ways with my method and do it your way by taking that panel down, and maybe one of those B pillars down. It's a little extra work. If you don't want to flex and bend your headliner, then take those down and ignore this part. But the headliner is held up with rare earth magnets. They're really strong. Now you can see right there, you can see it. You can also see that it's mounted onto a little plastic piece, which is glued to the headliner. You don't want to just pull the headliner down here, because what happens, the magnet is so strong, sometimes it will rip the glue loose from the headliner. Particularly if it's hot outside, that glue gets a little gooey and it doesn't stick as well. And it holds the headliner up fine, but you can't be doing a chin up on it. So what I do is I get my finger in here onto this thing. You can even put a screwdriver, you see it pop loose, but you heard how hard it popped? It's tough. So there's another one here, and there's another one here. All right, and there's a couple on the side. You can see that one right there, I think. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing is, and I'll just pop this one over here loose too. There we go. Now, we got it down. Now, I'm bending it pretty good already, but I haven't really folded it. This isn't hurting it at all. What else we have is back here in the back. You see that white piece right next to my finger? It's on the down in the distance. That's a clip that is on a plastic mounting boss that is also glued to the headliner. All right, that's got to be popped loose. Now I'm going to reach my hand up in there and touch it. It's not as far as it looks like in this video. I'm going to put my hand up in there and touch it and pop it loose. All right, see, I just popped it loose. There it is. Sometimes they're a little harder than that. That one popped loose pretty easy. Then I'm going to do the other one. That one's kind of hard. Let me, all right, all right, they're both loose. See it? Clip, clip. All right, so here comes the trick part. I'm going to bend this. Look at that. Popped right off of there. Look at that headliner. Not a thing in the world wrong with it. Just don't bend it double and leave it bent. It might retain a fold then, but even if you have a little fold in it for a little while, it'll go away. So now, watch this. I'm going to, and again, you don't want to do it this way, take this panel off. I do things in a hurry, and I have found it doesn't hurt anything. Boom. Whoa, I just pulled that down. Look at that. And see, all it does is just sit right here. That's all it is. Look at that edge. You see that fold in the edge right there? That's where it sits on top of this. So that's about, that right there is about how much it sticks up over there. So that's all you're bending it. All right. And the next thing would be the A-pillar. And I'm gonna bend it right here. See it bending? And it's down. Look at that. There's no damage done to the headliner at all. But again, if you're not comfortable with this, I've said this a bunch of times now, don't do it this way, okay? So you don't have to do all that bending over there because you have this loose. You can just pull on it like I'm gonna pull it over here. Look at this, it just comes right on off. Right on off. The headliner is down. Let me back out of here and I'm gonna show you. Oof. Ooh. All right, so there you go. There's the headliner. Headliner sitting on top of the headrests. And I do usually like to fold those these things down, and I didn't fold that one down. That's why it's up so high. All right, so there's your motors. Go ahead and unplug them. Oh, by the way, I'll probably need to add this to the front of the video. I always vent, if possible, vent the track and fully retract the shade. You definitely need to fully retract the shade even if you don't vent the track before you do this. And the shade has to be fully retracted because you can't get to these screws otherwise, and the rear glass. All right, so let's get to the motor. All right, the other motor. All right, so they stay on it when you take it out. All right, so the only other thing you got to take loose from the track, other than the bolts, is 4 drain tubes. 1, 2, I think you can see it right there. 3, 4. You just pull them loose. I will say this. Watch this. Watch your knuckles. I kind of grab it and twist it, because sometimes when they come loose like that, if you're just back here tugging on it and it comes loose, there's sharp things up in here and you can lose some skin. You know, if you don't care about losing skin, pull on it. But you also might be stretching the tube, so you don't want to do that. And I'm going to go over there and show you one more thing that you can fix while you have your thing out, because I just see it's a problem with this truck. Now, I have a video on this problem already, and to my knowledge, I don't think these people are complaining about a leak. And it depends on how you park the truck. If you park it with the nose down, this would never be a problem. But if you're flat to slightly up, this can be a problem. Look at that drain tube. All right, you see the way it comes out of the track right here? Which way does it go? Does it go straight and then down? No, it goes up a little bit and then down. Well, guess which way water doesn't flow. So while you have this out, not only should you blow through all your drain tubes, but you're going to want to address this. This isn't a big deal. What you do is just scoot it down through this clip. This thing's really tight. Scoot it down in here. You can push up on it, scoot it down in there. Look at that tube now. I can probably go a little bit more, but it goes straight and then down now. You maybe prevent yourself having a little bit of a problem later. That's nothing to do with pulling the track in there, but you know, I always fix these kinds of things when I'm in there, because you know, if they have a problem 6 months from now and I've put a track in it, even though it was like that already, guess who's going to get blamed for it? So just a little side note there. Next thing we're going to do is take these mounting bosses or pedestals for the coat hooks down. There's the little thing, and it's got a 7mm right up in there to the left, like I told you it did. Note the angled part. That's the front of the truck. That's pointed towards the front of the truck. Has to be on there. It will, you can turn it around and it will go on that way, but that will put this screw hole over here and it won't line up with the hole for the coat hook. So take note of that, because from experience, if you get this headliner all back up and your track all installed, and one of the last things you do is go put your coat hook on, and that hole doesn't line up, and you realize you have those things backwards, you are going to invent some new words. All right, so 7mm again. There it is. All right. Next thing is the satellite antenna wire. Sometimes these are a little different depending on whether you have a 250 or not. Sometimes I've seen the plug over here, but on 150s they're all right here. So you push this in, take that loose, right? You let this dangle. All right, you're going to be taking this aluminum bracket off, and this, when you put it back in, you got to make sure you put this through this hole right here, because it will get caught above it. And that's another thing that you can have it about back together and go, oh snap. Okay, that piece right there is snapped in there with a clip. This bracket's coming off. This has got to come loose, because this wire is attached to the truck. So I use these. You can use, you know, any number of things, I suppose. You could just pull it loose. This yellow piece snaps onto the clip. I like to just take the whole clip out, and I grab it like that, and just there you go. Look at that. It's just a push clip. That's all it is. And that way, it's just easier that way to me. All right. Next thing is going to be taking off these 13mm, which you can see 13, 13, 13. All right, this 13 clearly I can get right to. This 13 I clearly cannot get right to, nor this one. Now you can get a wrench to it. I don't know that you could back that all the way out without hitting the side airbag. You don't want to scar up this side airbag, so I'm going to show you how I don't scar it up. Now, if you don't want to do this my way, also, I'm going to take this 10mm loose, and I'm going to pull this down like this, and it'll come down a good little ways. And there's another bolt back here where you could take the whole thing loose if you wanted to, but I've found since I have this swivel socket impact, I don't have to do that. So I am going to take the 10mm loose. All right, it doesn't come out because it's clipped in place, and just make sure you can. All right, see, look how far that comes down. Look how much room I got for these things now. Now, you still don't have enough room to just get a socket and an extension right there, but with the swivel socket, you do. So that's key. Now, here is where a wrench, let's say a ratcheting 13mm wrench, would definitely work. It's just slower, but if you're only ever going to do one, don't bother going out. I mean, this swivel socket came off a tool truck, and it was like $50 or $40 or $50. It's obscene, but I use it every day, and it's worth it for me. Probably not worth it for you. Just get your ratcheting wrench or even a regular wrench and just unscrew them. Take your time. Not a big deal. All right. So we're going to have 13mm, and now these are structural, and they are tight. And they need to be, because this is such a big opening in the roof. If you'll notice, this bolts to a pretty part of the roof structure right here, and it is a solid piece of, not solid piece of aluminum, it's a thick piece of aluminum, and it stabilizes the roof. It's not just there because it's pretty. All right, so now I've got the universal, the swivel, whatever you want to call it, on there already. I don't really need it for this particular one, but I'm going to need it for the other two. So okay, that's a good size heavy duty bolt right there, right? All right, so how would I do this and hold my camera here? All right, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to put this up in here, and you can see it almost fits right there. Almost fits right there, but I'm not holding it down. But when I pull this down, rest assured there's plenty of room. I need another hand to hold the phone while I'm filming it, so you're just going to take my word for it that it slips right up in there. But I'll show you the aftermath. Give me a second. Okay, 15 seconds later, they're out. I held this down, and with the universal socket, it went right to them. They're off. And if you notice, no scarring whatsoever. That little notch right there was already there. No scarring on this whatsoever. It's fine. Didn't hurt it. Didn't touch it. You do have this little clip here that helps hold this on. I believe that is where this bracket is attached to the track at the factory, and they put it in as an assembly when there's no interior whatsoever in the truck. And this is just to hold this bracket on here a little bit. It doesn't have to have it. And matter of fact, I just never put them back on when I switch it over to the new track because it's unnecessary. All right, so the next step is going to be to get this bracket out. It's going to be 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter. These not only hold the bracket to the roof, but they also hold the front of the track to the roof. So I'm gonna take them loose and I'm gonna show you how to get the bracket out. So here we are on the other side. I have taken those 13 millimeters loose and this airbag loose just like it on the other side that I showed you. One thing I wanted to mention, if you have a 250 or bigger, this setup right here is, everything's mostly the same, but this is slightly different. You still need to drop this airbag, but the plug is different. It goes straight in instead of having being like, you know, 90 degree like this one. And it's got a little red locking clip. You need to take a pick or something and unlock it and then unplug it in order to get to this 10 millimeter. That's about the only difference on a 250 or bigger. But it's basically the same otherwise. All right, so this is loose, but it won't come loose. Why won't it come loose? Well, one reason is these little clips. But even if I take this loose, and this is another use for the 45 degree deal here, is I can pull that loose. All right, so that's loose, but it's still not gonna come loose. And why is that? Well, because up here, the track has made into it some little plastic clip, little studs, and this piece snaps onto them, and they don't do anything except hold that on while they are putting the entire assembly on at the factory. So what you're going to do is you're going to snap it loose, because you have to take it off. So you just put something back here, a screwdriver could do it, and just go. You hear it popping. All right, now those things usually break off. There's one of them, and that one didn't break. There was another one there and that one did break. There was another one there and that one did break. Well, this is your old track and it doesn't matter. But even if you have bought some of those new whiz-bang lower guides and cables and you're going to rebuild your track, it doesn't matter if this breaks. You can't get to it to release them. Not really. You can sort of maybe get up in there and do it, but it doesn't matter. Break them off, because what really holds it on, they're just there for convenience of the factory workers. Bolting it on is what holds it on. Okay, so let me get, okay, the other little clip is loose. Okay, so this is loose. This is loose, right? All right. I've got it pushed over to the right and it's coming down right here. And then I'm gonna lift it right out. There you go, there's the piece. All right, now I'm gonna pause for a second, because one thing about this piece right here, it does have some sharp edges on it and you don't want to hit your interior, but it's out. So here's where we stand. I did lift out the front glass earlier. The back one's loose, but you can't lift it out till you drop the track. We have the headliner sitting on top of the headrests and a little bit on the dash over here and the steering wheel. And we have all the bolts taken out of the front. All right, so now we have 10 millimeters down the side and 3 across the back. 1 in the middle and 1 on either side of the motors. Once you take all those down, this track is going to fall down on here, and it is reasonably heavy because it's still got the glass on it and it also has the motors. So what I do is I'll take one side completely down first so I can let it down easily and it'll flex enough to lay down over here. Then I'll go around to the other side, and as I take the last bolt or two out, I'll kind of hold up on it so it doesn't just go boom down on the, because that glass is heavy. Once it's sitting down on top of this, it won't hurt this and won't hurt the headliner, or it won't hurt the headrest at all. Once I have it sitting down and there's some room, it's dropped down enough, I can take that back glass out. And like I said, you have to take the back glass out. Once the track's down, these ears, you can see the ears where the bolts go, they have to be lifted up over the wall of the track so the other side can come out. So up and over and out. It'll be pretty self-explanatory if you get that far. So I'm gonna get that far. The track is now hanging half down. I've removed the middle and the whole right side. So the track is hanging half down, you can see that. All right, at this point, you can take your glass out. You have to lift this up. You see where the side wall, these mounting ears here, they have to come up and over so the other side can come up and out. So right now, that's what I'm gonna do because I don't like having all this weight on it. So once one side's down, you can see the track is flexible enough that it will tilt this way. And since it's the old broken track, it doesn't really matter. It's hanging down and I can take that glass out, and that's gonna make the whole assembly a whole lot lighter. So I will do that. Down to the last bolt. I wanted to show you something. If you'll see right there next to that nut, that bolt, there's a little shiny spot, little aluminum spot. That is a guide pin. So when you put that track up, you need to make sure those guide pins go right into those holes. They're pretty decent size. But the other thing is since I've got the track, if you'll notice, it's half of it's dropped down. That guide pin, when I undo this, it might drop straight down and it might hang there because that guide pin might be in a little bit of a bind. So we're about to find out. I figured I'd do this on camera. This is the last bolt. All right, it came loose. All right, so I'm holding it up. I didn't want it to slam, but there's your guide pin. All right, just so you know, you got those have to, okay, so now we have the track sitting there. Look at all that big gap. It's sitting down pretty good. So here's what I'm going to do. I cannot take this out and film it at the same time. I did have this done. I attempted to make a track video a few weeks ago, and I had one of the guys at the dealership film me doing it, and I may try to splice that in here so you can actually see it happen, but I'm going to show you what I do. All right, I'm on the driver's door. This needs to come kind of, here's the deal. The track is sort of a rectangle with curved corners, right? I mean, the track opening, as is the track. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of turn it to where it's not even lined up with the rectangle. We're going to scoot it to the front a little bit this way. All right, and then I want this off the steering wheel, and then you got to be sure it doesn't hit this. This will scar this molding, so tape it up, or have somebody, better yet, just have somebody do right here and put their hand, don't let it hit. All right, let me walk around to the other side. All right, so as you can see, let me get up here. All right, so as you can see, I don't know if you can tell or not, I've got that track sitting a little crooked in there already. I'm going to scoot it that way, not a ton, but enough until this corner will clear this opening. And then I'm going to lift this side out, which I can't do on camera again. Except I'm sitting here doing it on camera. Okay. Oh yeah, wow, I didn't think I could do this. All right, well, who knew? No, I'm gonna need my other hand, but here is basically what I'm doing. If you'll see this, I'm gonna have to put it down and use both hands to get it out, but I've got it up and out. It will come right on out of here. If you'll notice, I'm not hitting that molding, I'm not hitting the steering wheel, I'm holding it loose. By all means, have somebody over there to help you. What I'm gonna do is right here at the front of the visor, or not visor, but sunshade, I'm going to dip my head up under this hole right here and put it behind my head to keep it from going forward. And then I'm gonna choke up on it and put my hands down here and lift it straight out of the car at a little bit of an angle. I wish I could show you this on film, but we're close to it right now. I didn't think I could get this close. I kind of surprised myself. Okay, so while I'm doing crazy things, here I am standing in the right rear door. I've got the shade, the front of the shade crossbar sitting on my head, and this thing, as you can see, is coming out of the truck, and it just literally came out like this. As you can look at that panel. I didn't scratch it, didn't scratch the steering wheel, didn't scratch anything. It will come out. You just have to be careful. So I definitely am going to need both hands, because if I hold the phone in my hand and lift this thing out, I'll probably get you all seasick. So, but anyway, it's about to come out. So here we are with the track sitting on the tailgate of the truck or against the tailgate of the truck. Here's the whole track. All right, now I told you I vented this track. I do that for a reason. 2 reasons. One is you got to transfer over this deflector. Well, to transfer over to the deflector, you have to drill out that rivet. To drill out that rivet, you got to move this arm out of the way. And so once you take the motors off, you can manually move this track. And well, the new track comes, this is the old track obviously, the new track comes in the shut position. All right, I'm not a big fan of just using it right out of the box like that, because you don't know if that thing's shifted in shipping or if it's exactly, they're both exactly lined up with them. What I do, and what I'll show you later, is I go ahead and open this, move all this down, backward down there, like as if it's open, so I can get to this rivet, so I can drill that out. And then I do the same thing with the brand new track. And rather than try to worry about whether I'm lining these lower guides here up in the shut position, which is right about here somewhere, what I do is when I get all done and I've got the deflector installed, I run them all the way up to the end of this travel right here, to the most far vented position they can be. That way, neither of them can go any farther than that. And that way you know you got them lined up without any question, and it will still program from there. That's the easiest thing to do for me. So I go ahead and start the motors off in vented position, so they're at least, you can tell, full vented would be all the way up there. This is actually the vent position, but full actual max travel would be up here. That's where I'm going to leave them. It'll work from there, trust me. All right, the first thing you want to do before you do anything else with this track, you want to take this trough off. If you buy the correct track, this is a 16. If you buy the correct track from this, they're about 350, 400. Obscene. Here's a pro tip: one from a 20 and up will work, and they're only about 150. Exactly the same thing. But if you buy the actual one for your vehicle, they're just ridiculous. So how you take them off? Easy. Take your big screwdriver, good size. You could use a pair of pliers. Just twist it. Twist it. All right. Now, don't let this just fall. Ooh. Yeah, like I just almost did. All right. And here's why I say don't do that. Look at this. That arm is flimsy. It will break. So I'm going to get my knee in here, and I'm going to pop this on off of here, because I don't feel like buying these people a trough. All right. There we go. Trough. Put this somewhere safe. So with that being the case, I am going to wrap up remove the track video. We've got the track removed. It is right here. We need to transfer over this shade. We need to transfer over the trough. We obviously not the trough, the deflector. Obviously the trough too goes back on there. It's about the last thing I put on. And we got to transfer over the motors. So I'm going to try to do a separate video for that. So questions, comments. Hope this gets you where you need to be. Thank you for watching.